Okay, now let's do a couple examples. So now let's open up a project we already have here and just called operators in single view. Okay, in the viewDidLoad event, we're going to do some testing again. So now let's start with the increment operator. So we'll say int I is equal to 0. We'll add another variable int j is equal to 0. And we're going to increment I into j. So j is equal to I plus plus. Okay, we're just going to see how this behaves. Log at j is equal to %d, and we'll add I in here is equal to %d. And we want j first, and then I, and that should be good. And then we'll do the same thing for the other one, but we're going to reset them first. Is equal to j is equal to 0. And this works because they're chained together. So j will be set to 0, and then it'll return a value of 0, which will set I to 0. So now what we want to do is we want to j is equal to plus plus I. We're just going to see the difference between these two. I'll just copy the statement here. Command C, Command V, return, there we go. Let's try running it, see what happens. There we go, and let's take a look. Okay, so in the first example, j is 0, I is 1. Okay, so I goes up to 1. Second example, I is also 1, j is 1. So I is always being increased by 1. But the value that is returned is, in this case, is I, which is 0. After it is returned, then it is increased. So after this statement. In this case, it is increased by 1 before it is returned. So then you get a value of 1. Okay, so that's the difference between the two of those. Now, let's take a look at order of operation, operator precedence. So we're going to say I is equal to 10 plus 5 times 6 divided by 3. Okay, now in the typical math precedence, we would multiply 5 by 6, divide by 3, and add 10. Let's make sure that's what is actually what happens, because that's what we specified in the spreadsheets before. Say I is equal to %d, I, and let's see if that's what truly does happen. Okay, so we have 5 times 6 is 30, divided by 3 is 10, plus 10 is 20. So that is what happens. Now we'll just see if we can change that by using brackets. And there we go. Let's run that. And there we go, and it is 30. So 15 times 6 is 90, divided by 3 is 30. Good. Okay, so it does work that way. That's good. So next, let's take a look at the Boolean operators. Boolean b is equal to 0, which is no or false. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a compound operation here. We'll say, now we have a value right now of 30 in I. So we can do a comparison and see if it's between, say, 10 and 50. So we can say I is greater than 10 and I is less than 50. And this will test for the condition where it's between those values. And then if it is, b will be set to yes or 1. And if it's false, b will be set to no or 0. And then we can output that. And b is equal to %d. We'll output it as an integer. And there we go. Let's run that. And yes, of course, it is between those values. Now, if we set I to something else, we could test to see if it's not. Now, there's one other operator that we'll mention, which allows you to do a conditional statement, and it's basically an inline if statement. And so it's called the ternary operator. And I'll just, in a commented section, I'll display how it works. And we've got the condition with a question mark. If it's true, whatever value is there, and if it is false, whichever value is here is put into place. Okay, so let's see how it works. We'll do an nslog, and in here we're just going to say 5 is greater than 3, question mark, and if it is, if 5 is greater than 3, we're going to say true. And if it's false, we are going to say false. Good. Okay, and let's run this. Now, it says that 5 is greater than 3. And we'll try 5 is greater than 8. Try running that. And as we can see, it's false. Okay, good. So we've seen the ternary operator. We've looked at the increment operators and how they work. We've also looked at order of precedence and a compound Boolean statement. Okay. In the next session, we're going to cover conditional operators, the if statement, loops. Thanks for watching.